Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Wednesday, January 5th, 2022 meeting of the Lake Havasu City Planning and Zoning Commission. If you'd please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Jim Harris.
I am here.
Donald Bergen.
Here.
Dan McGowan. Chad Nelson. Susanna Ballard. Here. Matthew Mitchell.
Here.
Sam Levin. Gabrielle Medley.
Here.
And David Diaz.
Here.
Okay, I understand that we have no minutes for the last meeting at this point, so we'll skip that portion. Correspondence and announcements, Mr. Morris.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you. I don't have any announcements from staff. I do believe that Commissioner Ballard may have an update on services for Mr. Hardy, departed Mr. Hardy. So if she wouldn't mind coming up, I think you might want to.
Ms. Ballard and Mr. Mitchell, please come up and fill the vacant seats as our alternates. And then Suzanne, when you get here, if you'd give us an update on Mr. Hardy's services, please.
Upon the passing of our committee member, Doug Hardy, there will be several services held on January 15th. The first service will be a rededication of the clock that Mr. Hardy was responsible for getting installed at Pima Wash on McCulloch Boulevard, and that rededication to him will happen at 2 p.m. That will be followed by a celebration of life at 2:30 at Chagrew's Restaurant. Anybody planning to attend, if they could please let me know so that I can put you down on a reservation list so we know how many attendees to expect. And you can reach me at my telephone number 928-727-0037 or let Luke Morris know and he can give me the final account number. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Suzanne. And Mr. Hardy is going to be missed. Okay, let me move forward by saying that this is a public hearing. And there is a structured order to this proceeding. The city staff will present each item. There will be time for the commission to ask questions of the staff. And then the applicant will have the opportunity to present their case to the commission. That being done, we will then open the proceeding to the public for their questions and input. I would ask that anyone of the public that wishes to speak limit their trips to the podium and microphone to one only. Keep all comments to less than 3 minutes and to stay on point and not discuss subject matter that is not pertinent to the decision being considered here today. After public testimony is taken, I will then close the public hearing and bring the motion back to the table for the city staff's recommendation, discussion amongst the commission, and eventually a motion to approve or disapprove. The first item on today's agenda is item number ID 21-3109. It is a request for a planned development rezone for 2250 Marina View Avenue, tract 2399, block 1, lot 75, from mixed use general, MU/G, to mixed use neighborhood plan development, which is MU-NPD, and applying the previously approved maximum allowable building height of up to 60 feet for the residential townhome development. Mr. Morris, your presentation, please.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you. Here's an area map. The subject property is accessed from Havasu Riviera Parkway, from Highway 95 to Marina View Avenue. The site is currently rough graded and vacant. The zoning map, the current zoning map, the properties to the subject properties here outlined in red. It's of course zone mixed use general. The properties to the west and the south are zone mixed use neighborhood and developed as homes under construction or vacant lots. The subject property just to the east is zoned mixed use general and is undeveloped. And then across to the north, there's city-owned controlled land, city-controlled lands that are across Havasu Parkway. A little bit of history on this property and the development overall. The city adopted the Havasu Riviera specific plan for about 250 acres in 2008. The adopted land use plan designated a number of acres as residential, some areas as mixed use, and then some open space and trails. This subject property here is part of the property that was developed or zoned mixed use. In 2016, the development code was updated, and the one category called mixed use was split into two categories, one called mixed use general, and another zoning category called mixed use neighborhood. The subject property was assigned mixed use general land use designation. And in 2018, it was rezoned to that mixed use general, and it applied also to, it applied the previously allowed maximum building height of 60 feet for that property. The mixed use general district now allows commercial uses as well as residential multiple family, but the residential needs to be above the ground floor. Commercial development is allowed as part of the mixed use general zoning district, but it has not been realized on this property. Therefore, the property owner desires to rezone the property to mixed use neighborhood to allow multiple family attached townhomes residential development on the property. Here's the site plan that was submitted with the application. It shows a total of 17 units on the property. The dwelling units will be 2-story with attached garages, and they'll be served by public driveway and private driveway and private city sewer utility. The water services will be city provided. Here's a rendering of the property, of the project. The applicant is asking for this plan development to ensure that the project will be developed as shown on the previous site plan, and the sample building renderings are an example of how they propose to develop the property. This item is accompanied by a request to approve a preliminary plat for the proposed development. That's the next item on the agenda. Assuming this rezone is recommended for approval, then they can, the Planning Commission could feel free to move forward on the preliminary plat, which is the next item. That concludes staff's presentation. Open to any questions you may have. Thank you.
Okay, are there any questions of staff by commissioners? Any at all? All right, I will ask the applicant if they'd like to come forward and make a presentation.
Good morning, Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Michael Gordon with Desert Land Group. I think Mr. Morris did a great job of kind of explaining the background and what we're here before you today for. As this community is developed and these mixed-use parcels have sat there, and we've continued with our planning efforts, trying to figure out what the highest and best use is and what the best fit for the community is. For this particular parcel, this 2-story townhome project is what is being pursued at the moment and what we're wishing to build. The parcel next door is staying mixed use general. We are in the process of designing and developing a bistro, coffee shop component, and a retail office building, along with the neighborhood pool amenities that'll be here for this neighborhood. That's on the other green parcel there to the right, so that will stay mixed use general. When these were first put to mixed use general, as Luke alluded to, all the way back to the specific plan, this whole area was set up for a mixed use project. You know, as things have developed and the market has evolved over time, it's really evolved to more of a denser residential product is really what's become of this portion of Riviera. There was discussion and desire at one point to try and attract a hotel and some more resort type uses. But the reality of that in the market is that with hotel operators and people that we've spoken to, hotel folks wanted to either be on the highway or down on the water. And this neighborhood where the residential community of Riviera sits is kind of in the middle, if you will. So it just didn't get any legs on trying to make that happen. And on top of that, as the community has evolved, the hotel isn't really the best mix of use for the denser residential product that's being built and developed in the community right now. So a combination of things have led us to wanting to move forward and get this townhome project to the market. The community is excited for it. The real estate community in town is excited for it. I think it'll be a great product. It'll be the closest product to the new marina that's being developed right on the parkway with good access. So for us, it's a good complement to kind of fill out the balance of the Marina View neighborhood. With that, any questions I'd be happy to answer.
Any questions of the applicant by commissioners? Hearing none. Thank you, Mr. Gordon.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay, this is a public hearing. So at this time, I would entertain anybody that wishes to speak in either opposition or in favor of this item. Now is the time to come forward and speak. Anybody at all? Hearing none, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing portion and bring it back to the table for staff's recommendations.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you. Based on the findings, Development Review Committee recommends that the Commission forward a recommendation of approval to the City Council for Land Use Action 21-3109 for a planned development rezone for 2250 Marina View Avenue, Tract 2399, Block 1, Lot 75, from Mixed Use General, MUG, to Mixed Use Neighborhood Plan Development, MU-N/PD, applying the previously approved maximum allowable building height of up to 60 feet for a residential townhome development per the attached townhomes site plan. And as a reminder, this item will go to the City Council on their February 8th meeting. Thank you.
Okay, any questions of staff by commissioners? We are at the table for discussion and or a motion. Anybody? Ms. Ballard? Go ahead and turn your microphone on there. There you go.
I'd like to make a motion. We make a recommendation to City Council in regards to land use action number 21-3109 for a planned development rezone for 2250 Marina View Avenue, Tract 2399, Block 1, Lot 75, from Mixed Use General, MU-G, to Mixed Use Neighborhood Plan Development, MU-N/PD, applying the previously approved maximum allowable building height of up to 60 feet for a residential townhome development per the attached townhome site plan.
I second.
Go ahead and into the microphone.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Ballard, a second by Mr. Diaz to approve land use item number 21-3109 with staff's recommendations. Any further discussion on the motion? Okay, let's go ahead and call for the question.
We're going to have to do a roll call. My computer's frozen.
Okay.
Ms. Ballard?
Yay.
Mr. Diaz?
Yes.
Mr. Bergen?
Yes.
Miss Medley?
Yes.
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Chairman Harris. Motion passes 6-0.
Congratulations and good luck. Before the next item, we have our third alternate has shown up. Would Mr. Levine please come join us at the dais here?
Apologies for my lateness.
Right here. Okay, while Mr. Levin is getting seated, the next item on today's agenda is ID 21-3113. This is a request for a preliminary subdivision plat for 2250 Marina View Avenue, Tract 2399, Block 1, Lot 75, creating a 17-unit residential townhome condominium subdivision in the mixed-use neighborhood plan development MU-N/PD district. Mr. Morris, presentation, please.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you again. This is a companion item to the previous item that we just heard for the rezone for this property. This is the same property, so access again is from from Havasu Riviera Parkway to Marina View Avenue. The site is rough graded and is vacant. The property is currently zoned mixed use general, but you've just recommended approval for a mixed use neighborhood. The properties to the west and south are zoned mixed-use neighborhood also and developed as homes or vacant lots. And the property east is mixed-use general. And again, there's a vacant city-controlled property to the north across Havasu Riviera Parkway. Here's the preliminary plat for this project. The proposed plat will allow the units to be individually owned as part of an association for the common portions of the site. The project includes 17 residential units with attached garages, and there's a parcel with a private street and public utility easement as part of the common area. The sewer and the streets will be privately owned and maintained. The water will be owned and maintained by the city. A development agreement will be needed to be reviewed and approved, outlining the maintenance of the improvements on the property. And of course, the project will have a property owners association to manage and maintain the private drive and the sewer improvements. That concludes staff's presentation. Open any questions. Thank you.
Pretty interesting property lines.
Yeah.
Are there any questions of staff by commissioners? Okay, hearing none, is the applicant present? Please come forward. Are there any questions of the applicant by commissioners? Okay, thank you, Mr. Gordon. You can sit down.
Thank you.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Again, I will open it up to the public. If there's anybody that wishes to speak either for or against this item, please come forward and state your name for the record. Anybody at all? Okay, I'll close the public hearing portion of the meeting and bring it back to the table for staff's recommendations.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, based on the findings, Development Review Committee recommends approval of Land Use Action 21-3113, a preliminary subdivision plat for 2250 Marina View Avenue, Tract 2399, Block 1, Lot 75, creating a 17-unit residential townhome condominium subdivision in the mixed-use neighborhood planned development MU-NPD district. Thank you.
All right, any additional questions of staff by commissioners? Mr. Levin, did you have something? Or excuse me, Mr. Mitchell? No? All right, we are at the table for discussion and or a motion. Commissioners?
I'd like to make a motion.
Mr. Mitchell?
I move to approve the Land Use Action 21-3113, a preliminary subdivision plat for 2250 Marina View Avenue, Tract 2399, Block 1, Lot 75, creating a 17-unit residential townhome condominium subdivision in the mixed-use neighborhood planned development district.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a second?
A second.
We have a motion by Mr. Mitchell. Ms. Medley was the first for the second. So we have a motion and a second to approve Land Use Action 21-3113 with staff's recommendations. Any further discussion on the motion? All right, then let's call for the question.
We're having a little technical difficulty. Thank you for bearing with us.
We can see that.
Thank you.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay. Congratulations and good luck. All right, the next item on today's agenda is ID 21-3107. This is a request for a planned development rezone of 3702 Indian Hills Drive and 3641 and 3651 Buena Vista Avenue, tract 2208, block 13, Parcel L and Tract 2217, Block 9, Lots 3 and 4 from R1 Residential Single Family District to R3 Limited Multiple Family District to R3 PD Limited Multifamily Planned Development District, not to exceed 6.99 units per acre. Mr. Morris, your presentation, please.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you. Here's the area map. The subject property is actually 3 properties. There's a large piece here, and then that has a, well, let me start over. The site is generally located here on Buena Vista Boulevard, Buena Vista Avenue, between Oro Grande and McCulloch Boulevard South. It's roughly a triangle-shaped piece of property. There's about 880 feet along the northwest side. The east side has about 700 feet of frontage, and then there's about 520 feet along the south side of the property. There's a large L-shaped piece here. Parcel L is a large flag lot that was recently purchased from the city through the public property sales process in about 2018, 2019. It has access by a 30-foot wide flag lot access off of Indian Hills Drive. There are also 2 other pieces of property that front on Buena Vista. They're about 0.3 acres each. They are currently zoned R3. The properties are currently zoned 2 different zoning districts. The large piece, the Parcel L, which is just over 5 acres, is zoned R1, single family residential. The 2 lots on Buena Vista are zoned R3, multiple family. The neighboring lots around the R1 5-acre piece are also zoned R1, and they back up to the 5-acre Parcel L. Then the lots along Buena Vista Boulevard are currently zoned R3. There's the fire station number 3 is across Buena Vista Boulevard, and then there's a large piece of property south of Buena Vista Boulevard that's also zoned R3 that is owned by the school district. The applicant provided a conceptual plan as shown here. Overall, this property slopes downward from up here by Indian Hills Drive. It slopes down about 30 feet toward Buena Vista Avenue. So there's about 36 feet of elevation change on that site. The requested R3 zoning district allows a maximum building height of 15 feet from whatever the established pad height is for the property. And that pad height will be established by a surveyed grading plan prior to the development of the property. Given the topography of this site, it is possible that there could be a building, since it slopes down so much, there could be building heights up to close to 30 feet down near the bottom part, closer to Buena Vista Avenue. The site has approximately 185 feet of frontage along Buena Vista Avenue here. And then there's a 30-foot flag lot access off of Indian Hills Drive. Upon development, the property is anticipated to have its main access from Buena Vista Avenue here, and with Indian Hills providing ingress and egress and an emergency access only. Of course, the ingress and egress will be on private driveways. There will be no public streets within this proposed development. For general planning purposes, the applicant provided this conceptual plan showing 40 units on the property, detached single-family dwellings with attached garages. This PD rezone request will not exceed 6.99 units per acre for the entire project based on the density limits that are supported by the general plan. And then the maximum number of dwelling units will be limited to 40 units total based on the 5.76 acre site overall. Here's a conceptual rendering that the applicant provided. It's anticipated that dwelling units will be offered for sale as townhouse condominium units, meaning the buyer would own both the dwelling unit itself and the land under that dwelling unit. This conceptual plan also shows a swimming pool, a cabana, internal driveways, and parking areas as part of the condominium common areas. The project will be subject to design review approval process prior to building permit issuance, and the condominium plat review process prior to creation of the condominium subdivision. And just let you know, staff did receive 2 letters of objection to this request after the staff report had gone out, and those letters of objection have been supplied to you at your DSs. That concludes staff's presentation. Open any questions you may have. I know the applicant is also here. Thank you.
Are there any questions of staff by commissioners at this point? Okay, hearing none, is the applicant present? Please come forward and state your name for the record.
Sam Woods, Builtwell. I think Luke nailed it. I mean, if you guys have any questions, I'll answer them.
Do we have any questions of the applicant? Mr. Diaz.
Yes, I have a question. So based on this is like 40 units you have,
Yeah,
right?
and as you can see, I mean, some of our other developments are a little closer, but being held to the 40 units, they're going to be spread out. It's like a miniature community. How's that?
Yeah, yeah. And how many on average, the bed, is it 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom?
We're gonna try to fit 2 and 3 bedrooms in there too.
And is there guest parking spaces?
So there'll be guest parking.
Do you have
there'll be
how many,
private parking.
have any idea how many guest parking?
It just depends on the layout. I mean, when we do the single rooms, they're not designed to entertain houses, so we limit them. But being that we have more room here, we could, like up there in the top, we got a whole bunch of them up there. So I got to get it surveyed. I got to do the layout.
Here and here.
But we have plenty of room to do guest parking.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question of staff. What is the requested height limitation on this?
The height limit for the R3 is 15 feet. So
Correct.
from whatever the 0 is determined to be for that lot, we call it the max grade. You can go up 15 feet from there. So wherever that 0 is, it may be possible to build a building that's taller than 15 feet, but that involves digging down, going down below the 0. So you could excavate down, if you will, below that 0 and go up 15 feet from that 0.
So they're not requesting anything greater in the PD.
This request is not for anything excess of the 15 feet that's allowed.
Any other questions of the applicant by commissioners? Anybody at all? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, this is a public hearing. Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to speak on this item? One at a time, please come forward and state your name for the record.
My name's Chuck Marin, live in Indian Hills Drive.
Excuse me, please state your name again, please.
Chuck Marin, M-A-R-I-N.
Thank you.
Live in Indian Hills. Thank you for giving me some time to speak to you. Why are we wasting our time again? Nothing has changed with this plan from the last time that you voted it down 6-0. It seems like a waste of your time and our time in the community to have to continually deal with this issue. What's changed? Nothing. He still wants to put 40 homes in that piece of property. The mini homes, 1-car garage, very little excess parking. Where are they going to put their toys, their extra car? Most people in this country, most couples have more than 1 car. Where's the second car going to be parked if they only allow for the 1-car garage? I looked over the agenda and the attachments for the agenda on this item, and the citizens meeting summary was pretty bland. It missed the big overriding point that all the attendees to the citizen meeting were against the rezone. It's not that we're against development. We're more than happy to see Sam and Builtwell take and develop that piece of property as an R1. But we don't want 40 homes in our backyard. Right now, within the area of influence of this project, there's 66 houses. He wants to put 40 more right in the middle of it. I've already got over 50-some names signed to a petition against his doing this. And I haven't turned anything into the city clerk yet, but I have a copy here I'd be glad to submit to you. Is that acceptable to?
You can give it to the secretary there. When this goes on to city council, that would be something that you might want to make sure.
Well, I'm going to give the original copy to the city clerk before the before the city council meeting. Give me a second to catch my notes here. We don't want to see this rezone. We didn't want to see it 2-3 years ago when you agreed with us and voted it down, and the city council upheld your recommendation. And so now, I know, I'm done. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Marin. Is there anybody else that would like to speak on this issue? Please come forward, state your name for the record.
My name is William Newell. I live on Indian Hills Drive. We went through the same process in 2019 where the city council agreed with us, or not city council, the zoning commission agreed with us not to rezone. 2020, we got away because of COVID. 2021, same problem. And now here we are, 2022, going through the same process again. As Chuck stated earlier, we have gone around the neighborhood and got petitions signed by almost 99% of the people are against this. Not against building behind us, but against putting in 40-some small units. And as he said, they're going to have 1 car parking spot per unit. Lake Havasu, people have 2 cars, if not 2 cars. They got a car, a motorcycle, a boat, off-road vehicles, jet skis. So where are they going to park these vehicles? Out on the street. I'm not against having houses built behind me like what we have now. I've been there for 18 years and seen some nice, beautiful homes being built in my neighborhood. But I don't want to see 40-some built in my backyard. And I hope that the Planning Commission will do like they did in 2019 and vote this thing down again. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. Anybody else that wishes to speak on this item? Please come forward, state your name for the record.
Good morning. My name is Scott Shadell. I live on Indian Hills Drive. I built my home 30 years ago. I'm now a permanent resident of the city. I am a retired civil engineer, and in my career, I have dealt with this in numerous cities I worked for in the county of San Diego. And I saw a lot of development come in, and I saw a lot of NIMBYs, and not in my backyard. And I don't believe that's the case here. I don't know what these homes are selling for. I've heard it said that this is affordable housing. Typically, my experience has been affordable housing is located in areas where there's readily available services. We have a Bash's supermarket and some other things that are probably within walking distance. So basically, you are appointed the commission to decide what is best for our community. I disagree with the staff's recommendation here that this is beneficial to this area. We don't see any beneficial, but again, I don't want to come across as a NIMBY. But anyway, thank you for your consideration.
Question.
Sure.
What community were you a civil engineer in?
I worked for the city of Carlsbad. I worked for the city of Escondido and the county of San Diego.
Thank you. Anybody else that wishes to speak on this item, please come forward, state your name for the record.
My name is Larry Palm. I live at 3706 Indian Hills Park, or Indian Hills Drive. We just recently moved here, and our home is right next to the access area that goes on to Indian Hills. And I can tell you that we previously lived in a similar type complex in Longmont, Colorado. and the parking issue is going to be a real problem. I experienced that firsthand. Our complex also had we had a 3-bedroom home. We had 2 teenage sons. When they got to be the age where they could drive, of course, they wanted vehicles, and there was not enough parking. And as everybody said previously, this is going to be a problem, especially here in Lake Havasu, as was previously stated, with all of the extraneous vehicles besides the homeowners. But the amount of parking spaces you've got there is far less than what I experienced in our townhouse complex, and it was a huge problem there, and it's going to be an even bigger problem here.
Excuse me.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else that wishes to speak? Excuse me.
My name is Rex Cross. I live at 3720 Indian Hills Drive. I back up to the upper corner up there. And my statement is that was zoned R1 from the very beginning. All the homes around there, other than that little strip on the bottom, is R1. It was zoned R1 when he purchased the property. So my request for you is to leave it as R1. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else that wishes to speak on this item, please come forward, state your name for the record.
My name is John McDonald. I own the property on Buena Vista that I share the rear property line with the project. I think that R1 zoning would allow approximately half the density with maybe 20 homes in there, and that would be a better fit for that project. That's when I bought the lot. That's what I hope to see someday in there, and no more than that. With the way the topography is on the lot, with the zoning that he would be receiving with the R3 plan unit development, it would allow him to increase the density with something we don't know what will end up down the road. If the plan changes from the smaller homes he's going to do to maybe a higher density or larger 3-story home, it would be in my backyard, 3-story homes all along my property line. And that's not what I was going to see with the zoning that it has now. We kind of leave this wide open with that zoning for him in the future if he doesn't have a plan yet and a design for that, and we don't know what he's going to do. I would rather just leave the R1 zoning as it is until we know more about it. But the traffic that's going to increase in my backyard, the increased density, the people, the lighting, the noise would be detrimental to what I plan to do with my piece of property, and as well as all the people that live around us. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anybody else that wishes to speak on this item? Anybody at all? Hearing none, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing portion of the meeting and bring it back to the table for staff's recommendations.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you. Based on the findings, the Development Review Committee recommends the Planning Commission forward a recommendation of approval to the City Council for Land Use Action 21-3107 for 3702 Indian Hills Drive and 3641 and 3651 Buena Vista Avenue, Tract 2208, Block 13, Parcel L, and Tract 2217, Block 9, Lots 3 and 4, from R1 Residential Single Family District and R3 Multiple Family District to R3 PD Limited Multiple Family Planned Development District with the following conditions. The project shall not exceed 40 units. The project shall consist of detached single-family units, and design review for compliance with the development code shall be required for the project prior to building permit issuance. And as a reminder, this item will go to City Council at their February 8th meeting. Thank you.
Okay, we are at the table for discussion and/or a motion. Is there any discussion by commissioners? Mr. Diaz?
Yeah, question to staff is these recommendations that you added to the these 3 items, were they on the last time this went in front of the planning and zoning? Was there your recommendation plus 1, 2, and 3 also?
I don't recall what the last recommendation was. I know staff recommended approval. I don't recall if there were conditions of approval on that. That item was denied by the Planning Commission recommended denial, and the applicant withdrew that before it went to City Council. So I don't recall exactly what, if any, conditions were part of that original.
And just to get it on the record, this was in 2019?
Yes, I believe that was in 2019.
Has anything changed from then to now, other than time?
I think the request by the applicant has remained the same, about 40 units per acre. The conceptual plan may have been revised a little bit, but I think it's pretty much the same request in staff's mind. The request that the developer has made or the applicant has made is the same request.
Thank you.
Any other questions of staff?
I have a question.
Ms. Ballard.
The plan here is calling for single-car garages. I live in a same type of a planned community. I understand that the HOA for that community could control the fact that you cannot have boats, you cannot have motorhomes, you cannot have those type of things can be controlled by the HOA. But the issue with a single-car garage in 40 units and insufficient guest parking it causes me to wonder if there is a way that the city can limit the amount of garage space from a single to a double car garage or allow more garage space per unit. I think a single car garage is insufficient and would cause parking on the street. And I'm sure that that's not a viable a solution to a parking problem. If it's a working low individual units that are more affordable, chances are they're going to be two wage earner units. They're going to be more than one car in that family. So I have a concern.
Mr. Mitchell.
My question is, how many units are allowable on R1 zoning per acre?
Well, you're allowed one dwelling unit per each lot on R1 property. This is going to be a property that has multiple units on it, so it couldn't be developed as one R1 property because it's multiple units on it. The range of units per acre in R1, I believe, is 4 to 6 units per acre.
On average in Lake Havasu, it's about 4 per acre.
So just to clarify here, we have roughly 6 acres. And as R1, which is what it's kind of zoned as now, that would allow 24 units, roughly.
You have to take out infrastructure, the roads and that kind of area. So that might be a little high of a estimate.
Okay. So the applicant's asking for 40 units to be in the same space as 20 or 24 or 18 or 16 units would normally go. It's roughly twice as dense?
That's what they're asking.
Okay.
Any other questions? Ms. Medley.
Just to clarify, this has always been zoned the same until this request. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe it's always been zoned R1, single-family residential.
Prior to that, it was public. It was zoned P. That's an old zone, and that area was reserved as what we used to call a drill site or a public site where they might have put in water tanks or something like that. When it didn't get developed, it went back to the city. City rezoned those to R1, consistent with the neighboring development.
Well, when the property was sold, it was zoned R1. My understanding before that was R1, but it could have been years ago it was P and then went to R1. Correct. But the zoning, as long as I've been here, has been R1 for the property.
That's correct.
I have another question. So as it sits within R1 zone, you could only build one single-family residence on this property unless this property was subdivided into subsequent smaller lots that would house individual units. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
Ms. Medley.
I just wanted to clarify because one of the people that came up from the public mentioned that had always been zoned R1, and that kind of sets an expectation of the people that buy in that area, and it looks like what's already established there is pretty much same, with the exception of what this would be. So I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Anybody else? Any questions? Okay, I'm going to make some comments. I was on the commission when this came through last time. This is still quite a reach, in my opinion. It will definitely affect adjoining property owners and the values of the neighborhood as well. It kind of goes against the zoning theory that we've adhered to here in Lake Havasu City, where there's a buffer zone between properties. These residents, the ones that have spoken here and the ones that are adjacent to this property, are definitely have a concern. If I owned a property adjacent to that and I knew that that was R1 property, I would have a problem with the change to R3. While I commend the design and the applicant for the type of project, I just do not think that this is the right place for it. I don't have a problem with developing it as R1, but the step to R3 is a leap in my opinion. So that's my opinion. We are still at the table for discussion and or a motion. Anybody?
I'd like to make a motion.
Mr. Diaz.
I would like to make a motion to not approve Land Use Action 21-3113, a preliminary subdivision plat for 2250 Marina View Avenue, tract 2399, block 1, lot 75, creating a 17-unit. That's the wrong one. What happened? What happened to my computer? We are having glitches this morning.
Yeah. Here. Read that.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Let me do this. Maybe this will work. Hold on. I'm going to let someone else make the motion because I don't bring my reading glasses this morning. I can't read this. But you get the idea where I'm heading.
All right, we're still at the table for a motion and or discussion.
Mr. Diaz, you could simply make a motion that you don't want to, that you're going to recommend disapproval to the City Council of this land action. You don't have to read that whole entire paragraph.
Chairman, I'll make a motion.
Well, hang on. Mr. Diaz.
So I make a motion to not approve this item that's in front of us.
That would be Land Action 21-3107.
Yes, correct. Item number 21-3107.
Okay, we have a motion to disapprove. And we have a second by Ms. Medley. So we have a motion to disapprove Land Use Action 21-3107. Any further discussion on this issue? Mr. Mitchell.
So just to clarify here, we're recommending disapproval due to the jump from R1 to R3. We think that will make it too dense of units in this area. Is that correct?
I would say that that's correct.
Those are my concerns. They're not against this because they're going to block their view, which to me, the one way to do that, you buy the lot and then you own the view. So that's not what they're concerned about. Density, noise. I've seen these small, tiny homes. I'm not against these small, tiny homes going up, but we're kidding ourselves that we don't think it's going to park an issue. I've seen it not only in this city, in other cities that I've lived in. It becomes a parking issue and a noise issue. And if you're going to try to double the amount of residences and you think people are going to come there with one car, we need to get back to reality.
So hypothetically, if all of these planned units had 2-car garages, would that alleviate our concerns on this?
That wouldn't change my mind. I'd still vote. I'd give the same motion.
Okay.
Okay, just point of clarification. We're still at discussion, but this is a motion to disapprove.
Correct.
So to disapprove, your vote would need to be yay. We are recommending disapproval. Anybody else? Further discussion?
Chairman, can you repeat that so it's clear?
Okay. This is a motion not to approve. In order to vote for disapproval, the vote must be yay.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Then let's call for the question.
Motion passes 7-0.
Good luck with your future plans. All right, the next item on today's agenda is item number, and this is the last item on today's agenda, ID 21-3114. This is a request for a planned development rezone amending the approved development plan of PD-02-003 for 1975 Daytona Drive, tract 2313, block 1, lot 1, in the single-family residential plan development, R1/PD district, adding a school building and gymnasium. Mr. Morris, your presentation.
Mr. Chairman, before we begin, I'd like to recuse myself.
I am sorry. Yes, you may recuse yourself. Mr. Morris, your presentation.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you. The subject property is about a little over 8 acres. It's located on Daytona Drive, just east of Mulberry Avenue and near Green Tree Drive. It's home right now to 3 buildings, including a 23,000 square foot church, a 12,000 square foot educational building, and there's a 4,300 square foot pavilion under construction. The subject property is zoned R1 PD. The abutting properties all around it are zoned R1 single-family residential and are developed with a mix of homes and a few vacant lots. All the lots abutting this property back to the subject property. In 2002, the property was originally zoned limited family R3, and it was rezoned to light agricultural planned development by Ordinance 02677, and that ordinance allowed a new church building and a total of 3 buildings on the site. The A1 zoning district allowed buildings up to 40 feet in height. So when the church wanted to build a taller building, it got rezoned to A1, the previous zoning district that allows 40 foot in height. In 2016, the development code was amended. As part of that update, the A1 zoning district was eliminated, and this property was reclassified from A1 PD to R1 planned development, R1 PD, because the surrounding lots were all zoned R1. The allowances and conditions of the previously approved planned development when it was A1 PD still apply to the new R1 PD zoning designation, including a building height of up to 40 feet and a total of 3 buildings on that location, on that site. This planned development amendment is required because the staff report from the 2002 rezone suggested that the site is limited to the church and 2 other buildings, unless additional public hearings are held and public notice given, thus this rezone request. Here's the site plan for the entire block, if you will. The submitted plan shows the existing church here in the middle, an educational building behind the church, and then the pavilion up near the front of the church, and that pavilion's under construction. They're also proposing 2 additional buildings, which obviously increases the number above 3, so that's the reason they're asking for this request. We'll zoom in a little more on the site plan. Yeah, the 2 existing buildings, again, the existing church building here is about 23,000 square feet. The existing educational building behind the church, again, 12,000 square feet, and the pavilion under construction here is just over 4,000 square feet. The 2 proposed future buildings, one of them is a 2-story school building here, a total of almost 27,000 square feet, and then a gymnasium building just over 10,500 square feet. These proposed buildings are at least 50, are about 50 feet from the rear of these residential lots on Green Tree. So there's about a 50-foot buffer between the proposed buildings and the back property lines of these properties on Green Tree Avenue, Green Tree Drive. As far as parking overall, the parking calculations provided indicate there are at least 325 parking spaces are required, and there are about 399 spaces provided. So with the future proposed buildings, they still have adequate parking per their parking calculations of the city code. Here's the building elevations for the school building. The exterior elevations show a height of 30 feet. The building is designed with no windows here along the northwest elevation. That's the elevation that faces the closest residential properties along Green Tree. The building elevations for the gymnasium were not provided. Staff did receive a letter of objection to this request after the staff report went out, and it's been distributed to you. That concludes staff's presentation. The applicant is here, and staff can also answer questions. Thank you.
Are there any questions of staff by commissioners? Hearing none, is the applicant present? Please come forward and state your name for the record.
Good morning. I'm Father Chauncey Winkler, the pastor at Our Lady of the Lake Catholic Church. And the proposal here is what we're asking for. We have looked at this building plan and thought to begin with something even smaller, actually, so that we can begin building smaller. But this is our plan to be able to build out in the future. We wanted to get it approved at once so that we could, so that we wouldn't have to go through all of this in the future when we wanted to finish the building. But we plan to build the school building because, as you say, we have an educational building in the back that also has a sort of a big gathering space in the middle of it. And then we're running out of classrooms there and we need more classrooms. And we also wanted the office in front of the church so that we're proposing this new building. We, as you noted, didn't have any windows on the west side. A couple of reasons. Number one, the western sun is pretty brutal in the afternoon. And number two, there are people down there, so we didn't want any second-story windows. Although the windows are typically high in an educational building and not down where people can look out of them. Nevertheless, we just thought a solid wall was better on the west side.
Is that it?
Don't have anything else, just endless.
What are your plans for time frame? We understand that this is in order to get everything in place for future, but do you have any plans for these at present?
The school building that's proposed, we want to begin this year.
Okay.
And the gymnasium would be much later on. I would suggest 5 years.
Okay. Just trying to get a feel for it. That's
right. It's we have to have the money to build. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are there any questions of the applicant? Anybody at all? Mr. Mitchell.
The proposed height of the gymnasium, is that, or Luke, are we asking for a change on that, or do we have that?
There's no change on that. I think we said it was about.
Todd Brodigan myself. In general, we're not trying to change the 40-foot height limit, but the gymnasium height wasn't going to be planned to be 40 feet. It was just going to be, I think, 25 or 30. It's nothing extravagant. It's not like the Raiders Stadium or something.
Yeah, they're small. Thank you.
As a matter of fact, the school building, a two-story school building, would only be about 30 feet as well. The church is 40 feet, and it needs to be visibly the tallest building, so everything else would be significantly shorter.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, one question. Father,
Mr. Diaz.
Thank you. The classroom, are we talking first grade through 8th grade?
Yes.
And is there one two rooms per grade, or is it just going to be one?
Currently, we're one classroom per grade, and we do actually start at pre-K.
Okay.
So currently, we're one classroom per grade, and we probably would be for some time. If in the distant future it was available to us and the need was there to go 2 classrooms per grade, then we would not want to block ourselves off from being able to do that. But as of now, 1 classroom per grade is what we're looking for.
Thank you.
Any other questions of the applicant? Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, this is a public hearing. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to speak on this item? Please come forward, state your name for the record.
Hello, my name is Randy Habeck, Habeck. I've owned a house or my family has on Green Tree for in 2 weeks, 51 years. We were there when they tore the first church down and moved it back and raised the height of it. The way it looks now, you can see the cross. Everything looks proper now. The R1 lot they're speaking of is just that, an R1 lot, like for a pastor's unit or something like that. It is not made to be. The houses on Green Tree are down below the grade, down below the road. There's none of them that are above that road that they come down on. To go any more than an R1 house there is invasive, to say the least. It would deprive everybody in that area of a quiet street and neighborhood. Nobody ever dreamed of having a gymnasium behind their house with basketballs or anything like that. Never. Let alone a school with bells ringing, or nobody ever thought about a school being there. The traffic is already a problem. Over these 50 years, they're parking in front of our house now. So I was counting a little less than 300 spaces once they think this would be done. I don't know where they would park when you have a school there. The lighting's going to be very disruptive because they have activities after school. Like I said, the noise factor is going to be, it'll take our peace and quiet of our neighborhood and turn it into a school, which it's not supposed to be there. Our area is a low density neighborhood. It's quiet. We've always got along with the church. I knew the former pastor. He lived next door to my house, and we could always see the cross from there, and it was great. But this is getting out of control, and it's just getting out of control, going from R1 to a multi-story building behind us. Let's see. There was never a mistake made when they zoned that neighborhood 20 years ago. There was no mistake. Let's see what else I got. We don't want our streets to turn into a Tacoma Boulevard. It's not a boulevard. It's not an avenue. It's just a neighborhood street. And they're already leaving the church and zooming around already, let alone this. We will definitely, if something like this would happen, have a loss of value if they go with a gigantic building looking down at everybody. I don't know if you guys have ever drove down there, but we're way below that parking lot. When they graded it, they lifted it, which was fine then. So I'm just kind of begging you guys to do the right thing. It's not fair for any of the residents to have this rezone done. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak on this item? Please come forward, state your name for the record.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Dante Marinelli, and I've been a homeowner in Lake Havasu for about 45 years now. I own a couple of businesses in town. I've been a member of this parish ever since we came to town. I was part of the building committee for the new church. I was part of the committee that ripped down the old church. As you know, the Diocese of Phoenix is one that's very difficult sometimes to work with in rural Arizona. After 20 years of finally convincing them that we need a Catholic school in Lake Havasu, they allowed us to do and move forward with it. With the new buildings that you see, I don't think there's anything that's intrusive into the neighborhood whatsoever. The church sits higher than any of the other locations along the street level. That particular area, we are not looking at a major traffic flow. It's not like a Thunderbolt that houses 2,300 kids. We are a small private Catholic education center. With that, we hope to hold maybe at the maximum 250 kids. And as you know, most Catholic families have 2 to 3 kids. So when we drop off, we don't drop off 250 individual cars. We drop off with multiple family units. So the flow is something that we always consider in dropping off the kids. We have to now build our school in the security areas that are necessary for a school, with fencing and things that would keep the kids protected. Also, you'll note that we are only at 1 classroom per kid or per grade at this point. So the gymnasium, quote, as though it is a gymnasium, it also acts as an area for additional classrooms as we grow. Right now, we will be able to take the school with the 1 building up to the 8th grade. We're at 5th grade right now, and we're out of space. The rush for this building is very, very important. Our suggestion would not be to build a high school or a school in a time period that things are so expensive. This school has gone double since we first started it. But we need the space in order to do it, to avoid modular units and some of the other things that are necessary to keep the school growing. There's a definite a need for private education in Lake Havasu, and we hope that we're filling that need. It's not only with Catholic families. We have a lot of students that enjoy private education that are attending the school now. So for that reason, I ask that you take a look at this. We've also made the commitment at this point to take the 2-story building down to 1 story. So we will not have the school be a 2-story building. And the committee, we've already submitted those plans for the new adjustment. And basically it was due to pricing. We couldn't afford a 2-story building anymore. So we did go down to the 1-story. The gym will be built in an area that we allow our kids. There's not a lot of noise outside because our kids play inside. That gym area allows us an area. We don't have playgrounds or anything for our students. We plan to use that gym inside where it's quiet and they can scream and yell all they want, as kids do, but it's enclosed. So I don't think that's going to bother the people around the area. So I hope that you really take another look at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of the speaker? All right, thank you. Anybody else that wishes to speak on this item? Please come forward, state your name for the record.
Hi, my name is Susan Habeck, and I'm married to Randy, who spoke earlier. I think this is a really difficult decision because I do agree that Lake Havasu needs more private education, and I do support the Catholic Church and that they need a school and they need a gymnasium. I agree with that. My hesitancy on this is the sweet neighborhood that surrounds this area. It's a neighborhood of homes of people that have lived here for many years, my husband's family included. They're pioneers, as are many of their neighbors. This has been a wonderful neighborhood. People have respect of their homes, their land, their front yards, their backyards. We know each other, and it's quiet. It's quiet. And the people that live there because they want a nice, quiet neighborhood. And I do believe that this new construction and new rezoning would lower our home values, would change the environment of that neighborhood to one that is very different. And I am against the new rezoning and building. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else that wishes to speak on this item? Please come forward, state your name for the record.
Hello. My name's Brian Lorisel. I live on 198 Green Tree. Me and my wife just purchased that house last year in February. I have 2 young kids. Like they say, that driveway that comes up behind my house, I'm the first house on the corner. And that driveway by the end of my house is already at my roof line. When they're driving out, they can basically see in my backyard. They can see my kids jumping on my trampoline. With that building next to that, 30 feet high on top of my roof line, I'm basically going to be looking at a block wall. It's not very appealing. The resale value will probably drop, definitely. He said his school has doubled already. And I've noticed already the traffic coming in to drop off the younger kids on the other side. I can't imagine adding more grades, how much traffic will be added to that. He said his school has already doubled. I do agree. I have 2 young kids that we need more schooling out here. So why don't you find a bigger lot and build a bigger school for a high school for all the kids that do need it? Don't try to squeeze it on a smaller lot, affecting the neighborhood around it. I wish that you guys would look at this and not approve the rezoning. Thank you.
Anybody else who wish to speak on this item? Anybody at all? Okay, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing portion and bring it back to the table for staff's recommendations.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you. Based on the findings, Development Review Committee recommends the Commission forward a recommendation of approval to the City Council for Land Use Action 21-3114 for a planned development rezone, amending the approved development plan of PD 02-003 for 1975 Daytona Drive, Tract 2313, Block 1, Lot 1, in the Single Family Residential Plan Development District, adding a school building and a gymnasium with the following conditions. The development shall substantially match the site plan provided with the request. The site is limited to those buildings shown on the site plan unless additional public hearings are held and public notice given. The new buildings shall be set back at least 50 feet from the property lines. Building height for any new structure shall not exceed 30 feet. Windows providing views of the abutting residential properties shall not be located on the northwestern portion of the new buildings, and design review for compliance with the development code and the conditions of this approval shall be required for the project prior to building permit issuance. And as a reminder, this item will go to the City Council with your recommendation on February 8th. Thank you.
Okay, we are at the table for discussion and or a motion. Commissioners? Anybody? I would like to call the parish priest back to the podium, please, for a question. Chauncey, is it?
Yes.
Father Chauncey? Is it not typical that most churches have educational facilities? I mean, there's quite a few of them in town that already have schools on their premises. Is that not typical?
Yes, there are several, and we are part of the Catholic Diocese of Phoenix, as Dante was saying, and there are many parishes with Catholic schools, elementary schools.
Okay. And you already have a facility there currently?
We do. So we took one of our existing buildings and that had many classrooms in it, and we started using it as a school. We did a little remodeling and made sure that it would work as a school through the week. So yes, we already have a school there. We're up through 5th grade now. We started with kindergarten and we've grown a grade a year, and we're up through 5th grade.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Since there was no discussion earlier, and I'll still come back for discussion, I have a couple of comments. That facility and that location, I believe from day one of the development, was designated as a church site. The zoning was probably modified through the years to accommodate that. But I think that's what was intended ever since I have been in town, since 1974. It was a Catholic church there. And I don't know of too many Catholic churches that don't have educational facilities. I think they have, from what I see, I think they have plenty of room. There were some good points brought up. All of the noise and so forth will be contained within the multi-purpose room. They're not asking for playgrounds and a lot of noise like a typical school would have. They've got the room, they've got the parking. I don't see a problem with it myself. Any further discussion? Mr. Diaz.
Yeah, and I have friends that live on the street. I guess they're just acquaintances of ours who live on the street that you can see this, the cross, they said also, but they say that they're great neighbors. The church is a great neighbor. It's not it hasn't been a noise issue for them at all. So I'm going to have to concur with you on this one. I think, but I do know most, like you say, Catholic churches have an educational factor built into them with the school. That's why I asked, what the grade level was. It went up to the 8th grade, because that's what my experience has been, 1st through 8th grade. So
it would be something that I would expect to be included in a parcel like that, even if I lived around the parcel. Anybody else? Let's call for the question then.
I'm sorry, have we made a motion?
Oh, let's call for the motion. That's what I meant. Anybody want to make a motion?
I will make a motion. I move to approve Land Use Action 21-3113, a preliminary subdivision plat for 2250 Marina View Avenue, tract 2399, block 1, lot 75, creating a 17
Mr. Diaz, that's not the right.
Why does it keep on going to that? Okay. I know, I just noticed that again.
Make it, just say the land use action with staff's recommendations, if that's what you're doing.
Is it 21-3114?
Yes.
I recommend to approve item number 21-3114, and that's my motion.
With staff's
recommendation for approval.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I will second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Diaz, a second by Mr. Mitchell to approve Land Use Action 21-3114 with staff's recommendations. And those were read into the record by Mr. Morris.
Mm-hmm.
Any further discussion on the issue? Now let's call for the question.
Mr. Bergen.
Who are we looking for?
Mr. Bergen.
You need to vote.
Motion passes 6-0.
Congratulations and good luck. This portion of the meeting is now the call to the public. The public can address the commission on any subject whatsoever. Is there anybody that would like to call or come and address the commission in the call to the public? Hearing none, Mr. Morris, future meetings.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you. We will have a meeting scheduled. It's scheduled for January 19th, and we do have items so in 2 weeks we'll have another meeting. Thank you.
Okay. At this point, I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everybody.